much of a secret. Women are far more susceptible to those injections than men are. There are so many women out here who are injected with those medications, sent to mental hospitals because they were speaking out about human trafficking. That's not okay. There's a spot I like to go to and sit. Apparently somebody did a trick over there that they haven't done before. So everybody's excited. Anyway, this spot that I go to sit down and take a break, there's somebody set up there with her tent. I stopped to say hello and introduced myself because I literally walked right into her camp. I was like, oh, shit, I'm right in the middle of somebody's camp. Somebody set up here while I was gone. Anyway, she introduced herself, and man, I gotta tell you, those medications put people for a whirl. Sometimes they don't come back. That's where, well, you guys get to see that it's the same stuff on rotation. They're with the CIA or the FBI. They've seen and done everything. They have the world open up and drop stuff on their heads and so on and so forth. And they don't understand that it physically hurts me to hear their stories. Just as you don't understand that it physically hurts me to hear your stories. When you tell me about your dad raping you, it hurts me. When you tell me about your uncle molesting you, it hurts me. When you tell me about your mother beating on you, it hurts me. When you tell me about being locked up and abused in the system, when you tell me those things, it hurts me. I meet so many human trafficking victims out here, and I can't get away from it. There is no place that I can go without people telling me things that hurt. And they keep it up. And I figure if I don't go anywhere, they won't hurt me anymore. But there's nowhere for me to go and just plant myself and be left alone. You know, I've been out here doing my best to rescue people. And I'm not sexist, I rescue men too. But that's one of the things that you guys don't get. A lot of us out here, you know what, we don't have any interests beyond just making sure you're not fucking dead. I got too many friends out here on the streets that are underground now. They lost their lives due to bad laws and stupidity. So I came back to my car. I saw a lady, another one who's a homeless victim of human trafficking, and she's going the other way. I want you guys to think about something. I want you to think about your daughter. And some of you got a really young daughter. And it may not happen for years. And those of you with the son, I want you to think about your son, even if he's super young. I want you to think to yourself, it could happen to anyone, at any time. Anyone can be abducted. When they're abducted when they're super young, they're usually abducted so they can be parceled out to people who are willing to pay good money to have a kid. People who are literally willing to pay millions of dollars to adopt a child. And some of them, well, you guys have heard those stories of women who were so desperate for a baby that they killed a pregnant woman and cut the baby out of her. You guys know those stories. A lot of the people out here, they absolutely have been human trafficked. And you know, when you get into drug use, like serious drug use, you make yourself a prime target. You give those people an opening. That's both men and women, by the way. Men are more likely to have violent physical offenses against them, and women are more likely to have violent sexual offenses committed against them. But there's a lot of people that don't differentiate between one and the other as well. So just because you might be expecting the standard male abuse or the standard female abuse doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you're going to get. Now, this woman that I spoke with tonight, she's a human being, not a statistic. She has a name. And it's not homeless lady. It's not crazy lady. She actually has a real name. Now, there are things that we can do to make this world a better place. There are things that we can do to make this world a safer place. But we gotta stop. We gotta stop this whole locking up the victims and injecting them with drugs and calling them mentally ill. When you do that to a human being, you break them down to nothing. You give them nothing else to fall back on. And you start pumping them full of drugs that are supposed to make them forget the abuse that they've been through. Drugs that are meant to make them, well, not who they really are. When you have as many people in your life who have had those injections that ended up schizophrenic, delusional, you realize what a special mess that you've stepped into by allowing them to put Haldol and Ativan in a human being at the same time. It's called a 10 and 2. And it's horrible. There are medications that should not be mixed. When it comes to drug addicts, it's primarily pharmaceuticals that people get addicted to, and then they're cut off from those pharmaceuticals. And when they're cut off from those pharmaceuticals, that's when they go to street drugs. Those of you who think that pot is the gateway drug, it's absolutely not. The gateway drug is trauma. Society has a lot to do with how we treat one another. What is quote unquote normal? What is expected normal? Or expected to be normal? But how many of you fit into those stereotypes? Most of us fit into at least one. But do you really? Are you that stereotype, or are you a human being? Are you a drug addict, or are you a human being? Are you a cellist, or are you a human being? Are you black, or are you a human being? Are you a man, or are you a human being? Two human beings can have a conversation. You put gender into it, and we got a war. It's stupid. So I volunteer. We try to see each other as human beings and change this fucked up system where people have no rights, where you're paying over $100,000 to have somebody incarcerated for a year who's guilty, right? They must be guilty because they're broke. So you spent over $100,000 because they must be guilty because they're broke. The homeless are treated worse than anybody else. And every group that I hear complaining has a shit ton of members among them that hate the homeless. When I speak out that the homeless are the most victimized, man, I gotta tell you, nobody knows more about human trafficking than the homeless. You want to know about human trafficking? You ask some homeless women. That's where you go. Some of those women are hardcore. There's a lot of them that are very messed up mentally, though, and you need to be prepared for that as well. You got to be prepared to see what a broken human being looks like. When I think to myself that there are women, adult women, going through what I went through as a kid, it mortifies me. It doesn't scare me as much as another human being having to go through what I'm going through now, but I tell you what, that's not going to stop me from fighting for people's rights. They don't get the love that they need at home, or they get the wrong kind of love, which of course is not love. Child pornography is common among American foster homes and among American foster parents. Molesting a child who is in foster care generally goes unreported. That's because nobody cares. When you tell on them, they just pretend that you cry wolf. And they just keep doing that. And they can do whatever they want as a result. When it comes to meeting new people, the lady that I met tonight, she understands about me wanting a St. Bernard. She also understands why I can't have one. That is an awful lot to understand. I told her I have Tourette syndrome. Usually, I try to tell people I have Tourette syndrome, so if I do this with my wrists, I'm not trying to freak you out, and if I do this with my eyes, I'm not hitting on you, I'm just winking. And I didn't get to say any of that, because as soon as I said I have Tourette syndrome, she said, I love you, I love you, I love you. Anyway, it's dark, and one of the things that bugs me about it being dark is that she is a female who is alone. She does have a male companion, so I'm hoping if I'm at my vehicle for a few extra minutes, because I told her I'd be back, I'm hoping if I'm here a few extra minutes, that'll give her gentleman friend time to come back, because although she's comfortable with me, I'm scared of people, for good reason. And that's not to say that she's going to do something horrible, because she probably won't. But I've met a lot of people that, well, they end up wanting something, and if they don't get what they want, they do shit like Molly does. There's also an owl that just flew up into a tree over here, and that's actually pretty cool. The owls here are a lot smaller than the ones in Nebraska, but I have never... Oh, he's getting closer. Oh my God. All right, maybe if we flip it around, you'll be able to see him. All right. I'm hoping I don't scare him off. Hey buddy, my name is Sean, and I am not gonna bite you. Alright. I don't think we'll get to see him until he moves. You can see him silhouetted, that's pretty cool. That silhouette is around him. Oh, you can see him moving. That was me, not him or her. That is just so cool. Let me try to zoom it in. I'm sorry about the resolution. There's got to be a way to get it to stop doing that. No, it's not gonna. Oh, it's flew away. Flew into another tree close by. All right. I saw an owl once in South Dakota when Jamie moved out of James's house. It was her first night in the new place. She didn't actually make it. I stayed there alone that night. And, well, that's when the situation with her and James happened, and I got a lot of emotions about that still. Also, I'm hungry. I was able to get 2 loaves of bread to take up the mountain with me tonight, and a couple of meals. I can lock my food in my car. I'll probably stay in my car. And I want to finish cleaning up that camp up there, because there's more trash, and now that there's more room, because Tom is staying in town tonight. had his own anxiety, and you know what? I understand that, and I don't want him to feel trapped. I also feel as if I may have pushed him or pressured him a bit much. Not intentionally, but I don't know. That's one of the things with Molly, is that when somebody says they're trying to escape, I take that seriously. You don't have to be a woman for me to help you. You don't have to be a woman for me to care. You don't have to be a woman for me to speak up. You don't have to be a child for me to speak up. You don't have to be an adult for me to speak up. No victim left behind. Now, Tom, just like everybody else, is pretty well aware of how things are going to go if he tries to go talk to the cops. But he did threaten to call the cops on Molly, because she was throwing stuff and hitting him with it. Now let me tell you how much he took advantage of me and abused me. He didn't. He did not abuse me or take advantage of me. He used the advantage that was offered. He checked to see if it was alright for him. It's not. He's looking for something different. He realized he's a little too old for a campsite like that, full of blackberries and brambles. I forgot I walked back to my car, so I get my tablet so nobody saw it and stole it, and also to grab a couple of tobaccos. And I got something to munch for as soon as I get off the phone. Let me see. All right. Anyway, there's a lot of survivors out here. A lot of them. You guys are so cruel to them, treating them like they're animals. It's so screwed up. You tell people who are disabled they need to just get a job. I see a lot of people who are schizophrenic and or delusional out flying signs. I also see a lot of drug addicts out there flying signs and alcoholics out there flying signs. But I see a lot of sober and disabled human beings flying signs. I also see a lot of addicts who are disabled flying signs. Their families throw them out, throw them away, and forget about them. A lot of times, those ties were severed when they told on their abuser. My anxiety's pretty high up there right now. This lady puts me at ease. Hopefully I don't know if it's her boyfriend. She said she has a male friend. That usually means a road dog, but sometimes it means boyfriend. She also understands that I'm not interested in any sort of intimate relationship. I help people. I speak up for them and I speak up for me. But you guys, you push them away until they're dead. And you tell yourselves that they chose it. Well, they didn't. Good to be radio. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper, and no victim left behind.